Guys, welcome back. Truth bump number 3. We are actually going to continue from the Reclaiming Power truth bump. So today is truth bump number 3, part 2, if you like. I've titled this Acceptance because I feel like there's a little bit that we can cover around that topic that will really support you. Just especially around those big areas where reclaiming power is going to support you, but there's some big things that I don't know. Maybe you find difficulty in coming to acceptance of. So this conversation is for that, because there's just some things that suddenly it's very difficult to accept. And I understand there's things that happen in your life, there's things that happen in society, there's things that happen in the world, and it's just really difficult to come to accept. But like I said, or I'm not sure if I said this in the last session, but I will say it now. The hurdle or the blockage, because what you can't accept, it does create a blockage. That's as far as you can go on your journey. If there is something that you're holding on to and you're not willing to accept, you can't go any further than that. Like, that blockage is not only a blockage that you can get around, it's a permanent wall that's there. And you can't empty that cup, as we've been talking about in the last session, unless you come to accept it. So I think it's really important to have this conversation. And I'll probably start with one of my quotes that I share often. And it is that you're either in acceptance or you're in judgment. You can't have both. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not. And that's sometimes a little bit difficult to get your head around. So, because people, I know you'll be thinking, well, when you're saying I'm not in acceptance, that means I'm in judgment. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But remember, acceptance is an open energy. So you're either open, and judgment is a closed energy, or you're closed. So either your energy is open, your mind is open, or your energy is shut down, your mind is closed. Okay, so it's one or the other. And, I guess accepting that or realizing that will help you quite a bit in this very truth bump. Okay, so you're either in acceptance or you're in judgment. You're either pregnant or you're not. It's not both. It's not, well, sometimes I'm pregnant. And I get it. So I get it that sometimes there's often things that you are in acceptance of because there's less power you have around it. And then there's things that you just can't find any acceptance around. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, well, you can't find any acceptance around that. So you're closed. So you're in judgment. And like I said, I understand. I comprehend that there are some things that you just cannot accept. But understand, all I'm saying is, well, that's where you're in judgment. Okay? And my question to you is that how is it, or how does it serve you or anyone else by staying in judgment, by not accepting? You see? And as we elaborate more on the idea of acceptance, and I will share some stories with you around this, it may support you. It's just when it comes to acceptance, especially acceptance, like it's with your heart. Like, you can't accept mentally. It's not an intellectual thing that you do. I mean, you can, but that's not true acceptance, because accepting the story is actually not emptying the cup. Okay. Accepting the story is similar to giving forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful. Accepting the story is powerful, but it doesn't empty the cup. It doesn't remove the memory or the power from the memory, as I discussed in the previous truth bump. Because true acceptance, which is basically reclaiming power, right? When you accept, you can then see the truth. You can, better said, feel the truth. And once you feel it, it's the same as when I say in reclaiming in the reclaiming power process, you place your attention on the truth. But mostly people can't place their attention on the truth because they're blinded to it. Okay? And what blinds you is your judgments. It's like those horses, they put their little blinds over their eyes so they can't see the peripheral vision. They can only see what's in front of them. That's what happens. The moment you're in judgment, you can only see what you believe in. You can only see that you've been victimized. You can only see that it's been unfair. You can only see whatever the judgment is causing you to feel. That's what you can see. And that is what gets justified. It's like, of course, I feel like this because of the very thing I'm in judgment of. So I just wanted to put that out there just to get us started. I am going to be talking about acceptance. It's with the heart, and we will probably remind you on some of the things we just spoke about in Truth Bump 1. So we'll recover some of those things, but mostly, I would love just to have a conversation around this word acceptance. So, yeah, those very big things that you can't accept. And, like I said to you, I comprehend, I understand. It's some of the things are just too difficult to accept that. But when you're faced with one of those, circumstances or things or events or whatever it is that you can't accept, individual, person, whatever, when you're faced with that, just ask yourself the question. Because our greatest power, is love. Our greatest force is love. Our greatest force for healing and for freeing anyone is love. Without it, you won't be free. Without it, you won't be healed. So then my question is, by being in judgment, how is that making a world a better place? How is that making you a better person? How is that going to change anyone else or any other circumstances that you're in judgment of? Let me give you my first metaphor or signpost that just dropped in for me right now. And that is, it's very easy for us to judge events or people or organizations. It's easy for us to judge others and continue to hold on to that judgment. But when it comes to an event that is not human driven, it was driven by nature. Let's call it a volcano erupted, or there was a tsunami that took place, or an earthquake. These are events, a tornado, whatever you want to pick there, right? These are events that have caused, they're disasters and have killed many, many people, depending on which event you want to look at. They're terrible events. But we don't hold on to those events. We come to accept because there was no one to blame. So when it comes to nature, yes, the event is terrible. Yes, it caused harm. Yes, it caused loss. Yes, it caused loss of life. But within all that, we feel our pain that there is to be felt. But because there's nobody to blame, we don't hold on to it. So in other words, we can let go almost immediately And when I say almost immediately after you've processed that, almost immediately you can let go of the charge of why did this event happen? Why did this earthquake happen? Because there was no one to blame, because there was no one to judge. So I'm not saying there's no pain involved in that. Yes, there's still pain, because any loss of life, any loss, any harm that is caused creates some kind of pain. But the pain doesn't linger. The pain for the event doesn't linger. And therefore, you can come to acceptance because there is no one to blame. However, the moment there is somebody to blame, the judgment stays. And it doesn't need to. It's just that we, it's almost like, well, we become victim to an individual or an organization, or, that caused some circumstances that caused harm, that caused loss, loss of life. So, I don't know what stories or what things that you may be holding on to. And look, there's nothing wrong with, honoring the memory of events. But see, with honoring, you want to, what's the word? Be empathetic, not sympathetic. Because if it's sympathetic, it's charged. And when it's charged, and whenever there's someone to blame, there's always going to be a fight. And there's always going to be a war. And the war is mostly within ourselves. The war is taking place in ourselves. So, this is not limited to big global, wars. This is just, a war with your neighbor, a war within yourself. It's my point here is that I'm just giving you something to reflect on. Isn't it interesting that when it is nature, because there's no one to blame, as much as the event is still terrible, it doesn't change the event. The event is still terrible. But we come to accept it. And we come to accept it because there's no one to blame. Now, I know you might be thinking, yeah, but there are so many things that have taken place in my life, and there's so many things that have taken place in the world where there is someone to blame. I understand, right? And like I said, you're either in acceptance, right? Or you're in judgment. And until you can comprehend what acceptance truly is, not mentally. So we're not, if I'm saying accept the story, some people are just like, I can't accept it. It's not what I'm talking about. And we'll dive into what I'm talking about. But like I said to you, even if you're trying to accept the story, how is it serving you by being in judgment? How is it healing you? How is it healing anyone? How is it serving anyone? How is it changing anything? By staying in judgment. Well, it's not. Obviously, it's not. So you might want to give the go of acceptance. Give acceptance a go. Now, I understand at this point, maybe it's different for you guys because we just did Reclaiming Power, Power 1, so you might be getting your mind around it. If you're thinking that you need to accept a story or an individual, that's only the surface. Because that is acceptance mentally, logically, intellectually, if you like. And that is, if you like, it's peeling the Band-Aid off just to have a look at the wound. That's all. It's not repairing or healing the wound. It's just peeling the Band-Aid off just to look at the view, look at the wound. So I put that out there because I know some of you might be challenged with what I'm sharing when I'm saying there's either acceptance or judgment. And I just want you to reflect on that. Does it serve you to stay in judgment? Okay. So I mentioned previously, briefly just now, about that love is our greatest power. Love is what heals, what cures. So I'd like to share with you a story about a client I had a consultation with. And this client of mine was actually a lawyer. But interestingly enough, she was also a healer. She had a really strong interest in healing, and she just found that's something that she did naturally. And in this time of her life, she was representing children. And these children were harmed, and she would be representing, them in court, or I don't know the exact story of what happened, but it's the point is that she was representing kids that needed representation because they were harmed. So she, interesting enough, we're having this consultation, and she says, Amir, I listen to the kids and what they've gone through, and I really connect with them, and I just sit next to them, and I heal. I pass my healing on. I heal just by sitting next to them. They don't know I'm healing. I'm not there as a healer. I'm actually there as a lawyer, but I can't help myself, and I heal these children. I'm healing their wounds, and from what's happened to them. And I just said, well, isn't that beautiful? And she says, but I have this one child that I'm completely blocked in, and I can feel that I can't heal her. When I try to pass on my healing energy, it's blocked. And I go through, well, how do you know that? And she explains it, and I'm just like, well, wow, yeah, she's definitely blocked there. And so I said, well, tell me the story. Why, she starts going into the story about this child and, the events that this child had to endure and what she'd gone through. And it was terrible. But you could see as she was explaining what has happened to this child and what this child has experienced, she would tense up, and energetically she was closed off. Where with some of the other children that she conversed with me about, she wasn't. She stayed open. Her energy was open. Even though she hasn't completed the healing, if you like, right? But this one child, as she told me the story, she closed up. And I kind of pointed that out to her, and I said, why are you closed off? And we dug around there a little bit and realized that she has huge judgment about what this child has been through. And I said, well, there you go. How can love heal, or how can healing take place if you're judging what that child has been through? And she's like, well, how can you not judge? Any human being would judge that. And I said, I understand. And I'm saying the same things to you guys, right? And it's like, well, how is it serving you by staying in judgment? We know one thing right now is that you can't heal that child. So you can't serve that child as a healer because your energy is closed. The only way that you can reopen your energy for any healing to take place is for you to remove the judgment that you have about what this child has gone through. And that's what I worked with her about, opening her up to get to a point of acceptance. And, the acceptance is not just accepting the story of what this child has been through. Because like I said, that's just removing the Band-Aid to have a look at the wound. Accepting is how it causes you to feel. And, we will talk about reflections. I think reflections will probably, the next 1 or 2 modules, we definitely need to cover reflections because, this will drop in far more deeply, and you'll have a far deeper direct experience of what I'm sharing with you when we can comprehend or when I can discuss the reflections. But at this point, I'm just going to give you one piece of the reflection topic because it's going to serve you to understand what I'm saying. We often say that the world or other people are reflecting us. Yes, we hear that all the time, right? And but sometimes there's some things or some people in this world where you're like, well, obviously, that person is not reflecting me because I wouldn't harm someone, because I'm caring, I'm not angry, or I'm not whatever it is. Okay? So here's the thing. It's not the individual or the event that is a reflection. It is actually how it causes you to feel. And an individual will reflect different things for different people. And for you, it might be, and this is where you got to go into acceptance. I might ask this question. This is the question I asked for the lawyer healer that I was having consultations with. And it was about, what does it cause you to feel? How do you feel about, this event or this person? And the feeling that you have is the reflection. So you may think to yourself, you're not an angry person, right? And you might not be generally, but there might be some anger that still resides in you. So an event or a person will play a role to reflect the anger that still resides in you. Because if there was no anger residing in you, you wouldn't be feeling angry at all. I don't confuse this. Well, I'm never angry in my life. I'm very calm, da 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 da. But when there is a role, an individual, a reflection that causes you to feel, let's say, angry or unsafe or whatever it is, I just want to point out. We'll get into reflections. I'm finding myself getting to reflections now. I don't want to do that. I want to keep this about acceptance. The reflection is not what someone is reflecting. It's not what an event or an individual is reflecting. The reflection is how you feel about what that person is doing or reflecting, or that event. It's how you feel. That's the reflection. So acceptance, and again, this is revisiting reclaiming power, really. This will overlap reclaiming power. That's why it's called part 2. Acceptance is when you're accepting how you feel, not accepting what someone did to cause you to feel that, not accepting what someone or circumstances that took place or that could take place, that could cause you to feel what you're feeling. Accepting is accepting how you feel. And again, what does that mean? Well, again, we spoke about in reclaiming power, accepting is embracing. We spoke about in reclaiming power, the opposite of acceptance is judgment. Now you're learning, you're either in judgment or you're in acceptance. But to accept, it's not mental. It's not something you do mentally. It's not something you do just for the story. The story is part of the movie. It's part of the role that is there, part of the script that is there in order for you to get to feel something that is there to be emptied. And the only way you can empty it is by feeling it. That's how you empty the cup. You got to feel it to heal it. That's how we're all emptying the cup. But what happens is we start to feel it and we have these emotions that we are in resistance of. We're judging the emotions. We don't like it. I shouldn't. That's another one. People think I shouldn't be feeling this way. No, you should. I know that for sure. And people say, well, how do you know? Because that's how you're feeling. That's when something is there to be emptied, it's there to be felt. If it wasn't there to be felt, you wouldn't be feeling it. And that's why you see sometimes somebody says something and it causes a different reaction for different people. And for someone else, it's just like, yeah, it didn't bother me. I thought they were an idiot, or I thought this, or I was like, it was like water off a duck's back. And they might say to you, I don't know why you're getting so riled up about it. Because they were reflecting something different. But anyway, we'll save that for reflection. Hold on to that for reflection. We'll revisit it. But again, I'm just reminding you, remember, acceptance is to embrace. Okay? You can't, accepting the story is to go in your head and go, well, I accept. But that's not enough. That doesn't remove the pain. That doesn't empty the cup. So, okay. And emptying the cup, at this point, I'll just say it's not just things that are, that need to be healed. There's like patterns that are limiting you. There are beliefs that you think are actually good that are actually limiting you. So emptying the cup is emptying the cup on anything that you have labeled as negative, but also positive. And I say that because you're like, why would we want to get rid of the positive or empty the positive? Because with the positive always comes a negative. In duality, there's positive and negative. There's good and bad. There's right or wrong. There's in and out. There's up and down. There's hot and cold. One doesn't exist without the other. You see, love or intuition, and I'm talking about the real love here, the life force. Intuition or the feeling is not positive or negative because it's one. It's one feeling. It's one energy. It's coming from oneness. So it's not good or bad or positive or negative. The way you label it, it channels it into positive or negative. And then once you've labeled something and it's become positive and negative from your view, from your perception, it's no longer the intuition. It's no longer the feeling. It's no longer infinite. It is now finite. And that's why I keep referring to the real love, because the real love is infinite. But then we have love that has an opposite, which is fear, or love that has an opposite, which is hate. That love isn't real. Or, if you like, it's not the love that I'm referring to. So, I want to share with you one more story that may support some of you. And it depends on which version of the WTF you've listened to. There is a version, some of you have listened, you may have heard this story that I've shared in a limitless or WTF recording. But either way, I want to share this story because it was for me really profound. I was a young adult. I was like, 18 years of age, maybe 19. No, I was 18. 17, 18. I remember I just had my driver's license. So anyway, this story was about myself and my girlfriend at the time. And, my mother used to always, growing up, she would always say to me, you need to accept Amir. I'd have a fight with my brother or sister, or I would be like, why is my brother like this? He's not saving his money and he's not listening to me. Or why is my sister doing this? Or why is this happening? And, and this just, my mum at this stage of my life was just drumming, Amir, you need to accept. Okay? Because without acceptance, you can't realize who you are. You can't open yourself to infinite possibilities. You're limited. You're building a prison. But anyway, that's my add-on to it. She would just say, you need to accept. So anyway, around this point in my life, I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I happened to be driving her. I remember, like, I just got my driver's license around that time, and I was driving her home, and she had to go pick something up. So I drove her, and she was going to be quick. So this was actually during the day, one afternoon, and she lived in a very leafy suburb, and the driveway was some distance away from the actual front door. So she gets out of the car and walks into the house to go and get whatever she was getting. And she said, I'll be 1 minute. So I just waited because she was only going to be 1 minute. And then 1 minute turned into a few minutes. I was just like, And at first I'm thinking, what's she doing? And like, I'm looking at my phone. And back then I don't believe we had mobile phones from memory. So I'm waiting, and it's now a good 6 or 7 minutes, and I'm like, come on, and I didn't want to beep there, So I thought, I might start walking towards the door and go and knock on the door and see what's happening. And as I walk down this door, I hear screaming coming from that house, and it was her. And I screamed back, and I started running towards the door. And I screamed out her name, and she said, there's someone inside of the house, and they're trying to rape me. And I'm at this door trying to open it. It was locked. I didn't have a key. And she's just screaming. She's like, I'm running around the house trying to get in, and I found a kitchen window was open, and I jumped inside. I had adrenaline just running through my body. I didn't know what I was going to do when I found this guy in there. I just ran inside. And by the time I got inside and, somebody found out that there's someone outside waiting for her, they jumped out, I think a second story from the window and jumped into the bush and escaped. And I went there to her, and she was fine. Obviously it was she walked in the story, what unfolded, she walked in and someone was robbing the house, and they had the balaclava on, and she got a fright and she just wanted to leave. And he was only one person, didn't let her leave. And he asked her to take her clothes off. And that's when she got the courage to scream. So nothing happened to her, thank goodness. And, but when I say nothing happened to her, it scarred her. After that, it wasn't easy to be by herself, walk in the street at nighttime, etc. As you can imagine, that did scar her. And look, at the time, my mother's always been a very healing kind of woman. She's been an intuitive woman. And, as a joke, and I say this as a joke, but my friends would call her the Oracle. Because, when my friends would come to my mum's house, they would tell her about their dreams or their problems, and my mum would give them some guidance. Anyway, so that day or that week, I rang my mum and I said, Mum, I told her what happened. And I said, she's really she's not herself. And she says, oh, bring her over. So I bring her over, and, remember my mum's been drilling into me about accepting. And I didn't know what my mum's going to say, but, she allowed me to sit there, and we sat there with my mum, and we walked in, and, she bought some tea, and she says, are you okay? And she starts talking to her, and she starts saying, she starts crying and telling her the story. And my mum, before she went deeper into the story, she just looked at her with this absolute certainty. And she just said, shh, listen, you need to accept. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, yeah, and she was pretty aware. Like I feel back then she was more aware than I was. Yeah, she would inspire me actually. So anyway, my mum said to her, "You need to accept," and she was like agreeing. Yeah, I know, I need to accept, and but this happened and that happened, and she says, "No, no, 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 shh, you need to accept that man." And she's like, and I'm like, well, hang on, where's this going? And she's like, what do you mean? And she says, the man who tried to rape you, you need to, and I'm trying to put my mum's accent here, accept that man. And she's like breaking down, crying, and and I'm like, Mum, this is going too far. And I'm trying to stop my mum, and my mum looks at me and goes, you shut up and sit down. And I'm out of the way, right? And she looks at her, and and my girlfriend goes, how do I accept a man who almost raped me, who tried to rape me, who was going to harm me? How can I accept that man? And my mum said, and because my girlfriend has a brother, and they're very close. They're the only two siblings. And she says, you love your brother? And she says, of course, I love my brother dearly. And she says, what if your brother, something go crazy in his brain and he does something stupid and he go and rape a girl, and tomorrow you visit your brother in jail? Do you still love your brother? And she turns around and goes, yes, I do. Of course I do. She said, why? She goes, because he's my brother. And she said, my mum, the rapist, the man who tried to rape you, he's your brother too. We are all one. And this was very profound. So the part I missed here, as I'm telling you, I just realized, because when my girlfriend said to my mum, but how do I accept? She wasn't opposing what my mum was saying. She goes, how do I accept? And my mum says, you need to love that man. And of course she said, well, how do I love someone that tried to rape me? And that's when she said the story of the brother. And she asked about a brother and said, do you love your brother? And she's like, of course I do. And if your brother, something crazy happened and he raped a girl and he ended up in jail, and you go tomorrow to visit your brother, do you still love your brother, even though he raped a girl? She's like, well, yes. And she says, why? Well, he's my brother. He's still my brother. I don't agree with what he would have done if he did that, but I still would love him. And that's when my mum said, the man was also your brother. We are all one energy. Now, that's pretty, the younger me would say hectic, but that's, it takes a little bit to get your mind wrapped around that. I understand, but that was my story of my first time I witnessed someone just accept. And it took my mum just saying what she said with absolute conviction and certainty. And it wasn't really what she said. It was just the space that she was coming from. And I was trying to channel my mum there just to give you the same feeling of, what I experienced. And, like I said, I was like, 17 years of age then. And I witnessed that like the moment you accept, you're no longer carrying the pain or the fear or the anxiety or whatever it's causing you to have. Because the moment you have accepted, you have removed the memory of the pain. Remember, the memory can still be there. But when I say remove the memory of the pain, it means remove the power. The power of the power you had in that pain, the power you had in that memory. That's now wiped. Now the memory becomes like an empty shell. It's still there if you need to recall onto it. It's there, but it's in a back room somewhere filed. It no longer feeds how you are. It no longer feeds who you are. It doesn't feed how you see the world. It doesn't feed that anymore. So it's not your eyes or your perception is not filtered from what happened in the past. So, and look, I say that story, I share that story because it was very profound for me, because it's like, oh, that's acceptance. I witnessed it. And I was like, oh, that's why she's saying to me, accept. And look, there was, as I evolved, as I expanded on my journey, and, that acceptance became far deeper, and it will be for you as well. And, but that is the key to this journey. But please understand, acceptance is not the same as forgiveness, and it's not the same as surrendering. Okay. Surrender is to surrender your expectations, but you're not surrendering your self-value. You're not surrendering your self-love. You're not surrendering your feeling of deserving, your deservingness. You see? So acceptance is truly remarkable. But it's not, don't misinterpret it as forgiveness or as surrender. Because someone who surrenders the expectations, and you're surrendering how you expect things to happen, how you expect things to be, right? But you're not surrendering your own self-value, your own self-worth. You're not surrendering your self-love, and nor are you surrendering your feeling of deserving, which comes from self-value. So please don't mistaken what I'm saying or misinterpret what I'm saying when I'm talking about acceptance. But this is the key. This is the key in you becoming ultimately the greatest version of yourself. It is required for you to empty your cup. You're going to get lots of opportunities. You don't need to go even look for it. It will find you. They say love finds you. Well, the things that need to be emptied in order for you to find that love will also find you, and the opportunities will present themselves to you, and you will have those emotions. Don't run away from them, because that's the process of emptying the cup. And remember this lesson about acceptance. I will also tell you, I have done a guided meditation. It's in the app, in the coaching app. You can go find it. If you just go look up in the app and look up in the guided meditation section. There's one called Reclaiming Your Power Guided Meditation. And that is for someone who maybe would like me to just support them in, that process that I shared with you in Reclaiming Power, where I actually said to you, the first thing you want to do is observe or witness the emotions that you're having. And then it's about allowing yourself to continuously feel those emotions, which is allowing yourself to embrace the emotions, which ultimately is accepting. And I said acceptance or acceptance or embracing is basically you're accepting or embracing until you become one with that emotion. Now, some of you are like, I don't want to become one with anger. No, you've got to understand that anger transforms into love. You become one with love. This is also important for you to understand when it comes to manifestation. You manifest something when you become one with the feeling of what you want to manifest. And that's why you feel like you've already got it. No one manifests anything unless you already feel like it's done. From a manifestation point of view, unless you feel like it's done, it's not manifesting. If you feel like you want to manifest something or you need to manifest, all you're doing is manifesting the experience of wanting or needing that. But anyway, we will get into manifestation. Don't worry about that. That probably will be a 4 or 5 or maybe a 6-part series in the Truth Bumps. So 100% I will get into manifestation. We just need to go through these first few Truth Bumps that are going to support you and give you the practices, the methods, the tools that you can support yourself on as you're taking this journey. Now, some of you are working with me in my coaching groups. Some of you are working with me one-on-one. So you've got that support. But this coaching app is for everyone. And there's a whole bunch of people who are not working with me who I've never even met. So I want to make sure that in these first few Truth Bumps, in particular the first 1, 2, 3, or 4, I'm actually giving myself the opportunity to give you all the methods, the practices, the tools that you can use on this path as we go forward. Okay, so that's a little bit about acceptance. This is the part 2 of Reclaiming Power. I feel the Reclaiming Power is now complete. Definitely recommend listening to this again, whether you listen to it again now or somewhere down the track as we go on to the Truth Bumps. No doubt I'll ask you to come back and listen to these because, the person that comes back and listens to these, it's not going to be the same person, I promise you. You mark my words now. One day down the track, as long as you continue to work with me, I'll get you to come back and listen to this. The Reclaiming Power, the module 1, the Truth Bump number 1, the feeling, and it won't be the same person. You won't be the same person. The same version of yourself would not be listening to that. It will be a different version of yourself. You watch. I'll see you guys on the next Truth Bump. Hey guys, well done. You've just completed this video. How do you feel? I'm just here just to remind you that in order for me to continue to support you, it's important for you to continue to support this work. Please like this video and also press subscribe, and remember to press the bell icon as well so you get notified every single time I release a video. I'm going to be releasing so much content here that's going to support you. If you're looking for something even more, like you're looking for a community to be part of, some extra support, some extra coaching, you're looking to share your journey with other people, then go ahead and visit my website at amirzoghi.com, and there'll be some information there on how you can be more involved. Also, I read all the comments. I'd love to hear your experience. I want to release these videos for you. I want to support you. I love to see how it's landing for you. What's your experience of the videos? Do you have any questions? So remember to comment below and I'll be responding to those messages as well. Thanks guys. I'll see you on the next video.